I became an inspector when I was really interested in working with animals, but also I'm quite interested in law and working with people. So it seemed like the absolute ideal job, because you're always working with people when you're trying to improve the lives of the animals that we're looking into. It might be a collection or a rescue of an animal, it might be an animal welfare allegation, but there's always a person involved. So I like that mixture of animal and people skills. To become an RSPCA inspector is a tough challenge. Lots of people apply when we have vacancies, but the key point to it is those interpersonal skills, being able to deal with people at all sorts of different levels of society in both positive and negative situations, and trying to get the best result for the animal. That's the most important thing. Having some animal experience is helpful. Being able to drive, of course, all the requirements are actually on our website in the careers pages. I think the best thing about being an inspector is getting home at the end of the day and thinking that you've actually made a difference for some animals that you've been called about. It might be a rescue, or it might be a complaint, but not every day is like that, but most days you've made a difference. Hopefully you've made the life of an animal better. You might have rescued an animal from a rescue situation where it got stuck, or in fact perhaps cruelty as well, but making a difference, that's the most important thing. One of the most memorable days I've had as an inspector was the rescue of a sheep that was stuck in some flooding. It was really heavy rain, a lot of flooding had happened in the southwest of England, and a field was completely flooded where a river had burst its banks. There was a sheep that was stuck, it was going to be swept away. Fire and rescue weren't available, so I managed to get the local lifeguards from the local beach to come and help. Myself and them actually managed to rescue the sheep using a surfboard, get it to the side and rescue it from certain death. It was quite an unusual experience. I think the hardest thing about being an inspector is trying to ensure that you use your head to think and not your heart, because there are many times where you might want to perhaps leap ahead or do something a bit rash, but you can't do that. You've got to use your head. You've got to remain professional, because in the long run you will do the best thing for the animal, and if you use your emotions too much, it's probably not going to work. You'll probably do something you might regret. So you've got to use your head, and having that control and having that professionalism is really important. If you're interested in finding out more about the role of an RSPCA inspector, perhaps just about what it is that we do, or if you're interested in applying, take a look at our website. You'll find that there's lots of information on the careers page, there's a career profile, and of course you can have a go at the online quiz.
Do you have a pet?
I do. I have a pet pug.
Are they from a breeder or a shelter?
They're from a breeder, because sadly there were no pugs in the shelter.
Would you ever consider getting a pet from a shelter?
Definitely has to save some animals, because when I was initially getting my pet, I didn't really know about shelters, sort of the things they do, so I'd definitely consider.
Do you believe the stigma that shelter animals are broken?
Definitely not, because I don't think any animal's like truly broken unless it's got like mental issues. Like, a lot of the animals are mainly violent because they've been mistreated and that. And I think if you at least give them a chance and a bit of time to settle in, you'll definitely realise that they're not broken. They're actually really nice animals.
What is your opinion on shelters in total?
I reckon that shelters are really like useful to not like make animals go wasted, if you get what I mean. Like, a lot of animals get like bought for Christmas and then tossed away just after.
Tied up in like in the park. Apparently found him, but we think it's been done.
Yeah.
The people brought him in. I think it was their cat, their dog. but he was emaciated, very bad for the allergy.
How long have you actually worked here?
I've worked here for 18 years.
Do you have any favourite dogs in particular?
No, not any favourites. Just all my favourites.
How many dogs would you say you've adopted out successfully?
How many dogs?
Yeah.
Oh, quite a lot. What, over a year or
Just general number in a year.
a year? It would be over like 100 odd.
Yeah. How many dogs do you get in on average?
We deal with spectre dogs and case dogs. We don't have a high amount, so we have small amounts, so we can work them, do more work with them and spend more time as trying to rehabilitate them. But we have we're licensed with 5 dogs at a time.
Do you have a pet?
I do, yeah. I have a pet dog.
If so, are they from a breeder or a shelter?
It's from a shelter.
Would you ever consider getting another pet from a shelter?
Yeah, probably.
Do you believe that shelter animals are broken?
No. I mean, I've had problems with my dog. When I first got him, he growled a lot. He'd still be wagging his tail and he'd still be growling. So to an extent, some traits never change from the past life, but I do believe in giving them a new life, yeah.
How many pets have you have or do you have?
I think I had fishes when I was younger, and now it's just a dog, I think, so not too many.
What's your opinion on shelters?
It's a good place for dogs that I've been mistreated. It's a good place for dogs that have been mistreated and and obviously any animals that have been mistreated, and it gives them a chance to have a new life.
Do you have a pet?
Yes.
If so, are they from a breeder or a shelter?
Yeah, well, One's from... No, they're both from a pet shop, but one's from an adoption section in a pet shop.
Would you ever consider getting a pet from a shelter?
Yes.
Do you believe that shelter animals are broken?
Yeah, I think shelter animals have had a tough life, and they deserve to be given another chance.
How many pets have you or do you have?
Well, I've currently got 2, and in the past I've had about 6.
What is your opinion on shelters in general?
Yeah, I think they're doing the best they can to try and help and rescue mistreated animals.
Located at 32 Cross Lane, Wallasey, there is a small shelter which holds both cats and dogs. Some are surrendered and some are just brought in from bad situations or from living on the streets. They're brought to one of the 17 regional animal shelters or one of the 42 animal centres that are in the branches, in which they are welcomed with open arms, also getting a health check and anything that they need, such as food, water and toys. They're given their own section in the shelter to call home, yet hope is always that it will be a temporary situation and that these animals will get their chance at a forever home. In 2018 they had received 1,175,000 calls. There's roughly 9 million dogs in the UK and 8 million cats, but it is estimated that 44% of these animals are in homes, leaving the other percentage on the streets. In 2018 alone, the RSPCA managed to rescue and collect more than 102,000 animals, found new homes for 40,000, carried out 211 microchippings, neuterings and treatments. They also took in 18,000 animals into wildlife centres, those being wild animals such as like swans, geese and other wildlife. Investigated 130,000 cases of animal abuse and neglect, and secured 1,000 plus convicts by private prosecution to protect animals against these who broke the laws. If you're unable to adopt for any reason but still want to help an animal, there is always the option to foster, which is where you take the animal from the shelter and into your home temporarily. This is always a good idea because it helps the animal gain the skills of a home, such as potty training, not to scratch the curtains, not to bite the couch, not to eat anything or act aggressive. So that when it comes to this animal trying to get a home, it'll be twice as easy to help that animal get a home. There is also volunteering in shelters, which is a large part for most shelters as they are heavily donation based and public help. There is also volunteering, which is a huge part of running a good shelter. Even though most places will not take under 18s, the work that is done benefits the animals and staff at the shelter. Taking more time to sit with the animals to help socialise them while they're in the shelter's care, which again helps with adoptions, as if a cat or dog is more friendly, then they are more likely to be adopted than one that is, say, very timid or very shy.